Welcome back to On the Flip Side. My name is Adam Shawwalker, your host, and today we're going to be diving headfirst into this new Korn album, Requiem. So I want to say right off the bat, this album title, Requiem, really an apt name. If you're familiar with what a requiem is, it is a song for a death. And in this case, I can't help but think that this whole album is indicating further that the nu metal genre as a whole has fallen so far from grace that to call it dead would be an understatement. And thus we have Requiem, an album for the death of a career, and of course, Korn are probably not going anywhere anytime soon, which is really a bit of a shame. Listening to this album genuinely made me cringe at multiple points during its agonizingly dull and criminally frustrating 9 tracks. Jonathan Davis pretty much phones it in during the majority of this album with some very soaring on high vocals that barely inspire any thought. And god, the backup vocals on Let the Dark Do the Rest are just some of the worst I've ever heard with this blaring, "You make me sick!" It's just kind of lazily delivered. Frankly, it's embarrassing to listen to. And Jesus Christ, the song Start the Healing has this awful mashup of these staccato vocals like it's like a fucking modern Eminem track or something, mixed with this terrible macho chorus that like begs the question that who's really getting enjoyment out of this? Like, I don't understand the target for this whatsoever. Like, the kind of people that would listen to this are like so past their prime. I mean, it's just, who's still buying fucking Korn records? The whole time I've listened to this album, I've been consistently asking myself, how on earth is it that Limp Bizkit can release an album with better writing than this? And the only thing I can come back to is that Limp Bizkit never took themselves all that seriously. So now with Korn, we have this frankly just fucking painful grouping of songs. Lost in the Grandeur quickly loses itself in this lame guitar intro that just sounds so half-assed, like let's just palm mute over some like barely thought out drums. And I find it just ironic that the lyrics seem so self-loathing on this track and seem to really focus in on mediocrity as a theme. But if that's really the case, then why the fuck did this album drop? There's not a single moment on this track that seems to back up any kind of desire to progress or be better, when every second of this leans on a weaker and weaker formula that is starting to fail by the second. And the end of this track is just so fucking bad. I mean, lyrically, check this out. And I'm losing my grip, always caught up in it, that the truth is all lies, it builds up inside, I fucking hate this every day, something painful, something grave, can't go living on this way, I won't let you take this, keep on trying, motherfucker. They deliver the whole thing with the most forced tough guy act. Mr. Davis is so angry, Mr. Davis is so unhinged. He's hurting. It does seem as though there is a lack of self-awareness in all of the writing compared to the delivery of every line. It's one of the most transparent acts that I've ever heard. Disconnect, thematically very similar to the last song, with an ever-present overblown sound and underwritten riffs. The vocals on this song almost sound like Jonathan Davis is trying to do like an Al Jurgensen impression, but like modern, like late era Ministry. It's really weird, but if you know what you're like listening to, you'll know what I'm talking about. The whole thing is just baffling. Hopeless and Beaten is another of these songs that is just way too dramatic. I can't help but wonder what the deal is with the frankly overused backing vocals that just spit out every line louder and usually with a worse delivery. Also, this album is probably the most guilty album I've heard in a long time of just being a complete chug fest. The song just really sends it home with one of the weakest tempos on the album. There's really no energy in any of these songs. All of them seem like a farce in the face of music. Penance to Sorrow has an intro that is kinda decently heavy with an almost thal sound. It's a much better hook than many of the songs on this album. The rest of the song pretty much loses any momentum the intro builds up though, with bad lyrics and falling into like repetitive sections that beat any good ideas straight into the ground. This song is probably much more of a bummer than the rest because there are some legitimately good ideas in this track. They just all have fallen victim to the poor writing and production choices that this album seems to just be filled to the brim with. My Confession has another promising intro that quickly falls apart and dashes any remaining hope I had with some entirely vile rap rock from Jonathan Davis. The track doesn't really get any better either, with more moments of lyrical melodrama and a strong sense that this whole act at this point has reached just complete redundancy. The final song is called Worst Is On Its Way, which worryingly seems like a threat that Korn does in fact intend to continue making music that is this devoid of quality. In reality though, this song is just kind of a mediocre attempt to recapture some youthful energy that comes across mostly as gimmicky. As far as track quality goes, though, this is probably the easiest song to listen to, which is very much Too Little Too Late, as by the end of this marathon of an album, the only thing I can describe it as is exhausting. And this song, though, does have a final passage with Jonathan Davis finally belting out some of the furious scatting that we know him for, which I think compared to their early material is actually still totally on par quality-wise with that stuff. It's still very silly, but considering it's actually about what I was expecting, I'll give them points for at least managing to at least land that. Other than that, I mean, this album does not have a lot of moments that I would consider redeeming or quality. The writing is largely stale. The actual tracks, with the exception of the last few songs, have very, very few discerning moments from each other. There's a lot of material here, but not nearly as much actual content. Requiem is a very, very firm 2. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and dropping a like on this video. Let me know what you thought of the album in the comments below. And if you want to support the channel further, then just check out my Instagram and my Reverb store. Links to those are also in the description below. Thank you all so much again, and we'll see you on the flip side.